Was Richard the Lionheart a hero or a masterful manipulator? Did his glorious crusade end in triumphant victory or a carefully constructed lie? And what if everything you thought you knew about the Third Crusade was a meticulously crafted deception, designed to bury a darker, far more unsettling truth? The year is 1192. The air hangs thick with the scent of salt, sweat, and something else, something faintly rotten. Acre, a city choked by the ghosts of battles and the stench of disease, is a stage set for a tragedy no one truly understands. Richard the Lionheart, King of England, is preparing to sail home not as a conquering hero, but as a man haunted by shadows and desperately trying to control a narrative that's already spiraling out of his grasp. Let's rewind. It's 1190. The Third Crusade, a grand, almost ludicrous, attempt to reclaim Jerusalem, is in full swing. Richard, fueled by a messianic obsession and a thirst for glory, leads a formidable force across the Mediterranean, battling through treacherous seas and brutal skirmishes. But this wasn't a straightforward quest for Holy Land. It was a tangled web of ambition, betrayal, and simmering resentments. The story begins with Blondel, Richard's loyal squire, a man whose quiet competence is often overshadowed by the king's flamboyant persona. Blondel's friend, Chastelain de Coucy, a figure shrouded in legend, becomes entangled in a deadly romance. A passionate affair fueled by a jealous husband sends the minstrel plunging into the heart of the conflict. He's wounded, poisoned, and before his last breath he scribbles a song and a letter, a desperate plea to his beloved, entrusting them to a messenger. The husband, a man consumed by malice, doesn't just destroy the letter, he meticulously dissects the minstrel's heart, serving it to his wife as a gruesome, unforgettable lesson. Imagine the horror, the sheer, sickening detail. A man's heart meticulously prepared, presented as a feast. It's a tale of brutal revenge, a dark undercurrent beneath the veneer of chivalry, but this is just the beginning. The legend surrounding Chastelain de Coucy grows, twisting his fate into a myth of noble failure. He becomes synonymous with a man consumed by love and ultimately destroyed by it. The story, meticulously crafted over the following years, identifies him with Rignault, a man who falls desperately in love and is manipulated into joining Richard's crusade. It's a narrative designed to amplify the tragedy, to paint Richard's world in shades of betrayal and doomed romance. And the story doesn't end there. A box arrives containing the embalmed heart and a lock of hair, a macabre memento of a lost love. But this package is intercepted by the husband who orchestrated the minstrel's demise. He doesn't simply destroy the contents, he meticulously dissects the heart, preparing it as a horrifying meal for his wife. The woman, upon swallowing the gruesome offering, declares she will never eat again. A single chilling response to a brutal act of vengeance. This isn't a historical record, it's a legend born from the ashes of a failed crusade and fueled by a desire to create a compelling narrative. The story, written in the early 13th century, lacks any corroborating evidence, yet it persists, a dark stain on the memory of the Third Crusade. It perfectly encapsulates the atmosphere surrounding the campaign, a blend of chivalric ideals and profound hopelessness. Richard's ambition was monumental, his desire to reclaim Jerusalem almost obsessive. He envisioned himself as a modern-day King Arthur, destined to liberate the Holy Land, but the reality was far more complex. His strategic brilliance, confirmed by historians, arguably saved the fragile Christian kingdom of Outremer for another century, securing Cyprus and the Palestinian coast as a vital buffer. Yet the big prize, Jerusalem, remained tantalizingly out of reach. He came so close, twice attempting to breach Saladin's defenses at Beit Nuba. But the temptation to seize the city, to claim the ultimate victory, proved too great. He realized with a chilling clarity that a swift, decisive capture would inevitably lead to another, equally swift, recapture. Jerusalem, he understood, needed a more permanent solution, a lasting peace. His plans for a negotiated settlement, a strategic retreat, were tragically cut short. The narrative of the campaign, already being shaped by others, wouldn't allow for a nuanced, pragmatic approach. The English perspective, shaped by the survivors, viewed Richard's failure as a courageous dream, a valiant effort that ultimately fell short. But for those who remained in Palestine, preparing for a new agreement with Saladin, the reality was starkly different. The French and German contingents were already returning home, spinning tales of betrayal and greed, fueled by disaffected soldiers eager to paint Richard in the worst possible light. "We who were there, who saw it and knew it at first hand, we who suffered there, we dare not lie about those who, as we saw with our own eyes, suffered for the love of God," Ambrose, a Norman minstrel, declares. His words are laced with bitterness, a desperate attempt to defend his own account of events. He's fighting back against the rumors of treachery and ambition, the whispers that Richard had deliberately undermined the Crusade. The truth, as revealed by historians, is far more pragmatic. Richard's strategic skill was crucial to the survival of Outremer, but his ambition and desire for glory led him to prioritize the appearance of victory over the reality of it. He strategically delayed a full siege of Jerusalem, allowing the news of his impending triumph to reach the Western European capitals first. He wanted to control the narrative to shape the perception of his campaign before his enemies could. Consider the staggering losses. Contemporary chroniclers estimated that as few as 1 in 12 of the initial army perished on the quayside in Acre, staring out at the Tower of Flies, preparing for a long and arduous journey home. The autumn was brutal, a stormy autumn that claimed countless lives. Many drowned on the return voyage, victims of disease, battle, and the relentless sea. Those who survived found themselves not as heroes, but as objects of ridicule, their expectations shattered by the meager results of the campaign. Richard, meanwhile, was a figure of contradictory reputations. He was a hero to the English, a symbol of chivalry and unwavering determination. But elsewhere, his reputation was tarnished by accusations of pragmatism and a disturbing admiration for Islamic civilization. He wasn't simply a crusader, he was a diplomat, a strategist, a man who recognized the value of understanding his opponent. The rumors began to circulate almost immediately. Tales of Melee Rick, the Saracen name for Richard, a terrifying moniker used to silence children and intimidate horses. But alongside these tales of military prowess, darker whispers began to surface, rumors of illicit affairs, of a king seduced by the exotic allure of the East. Allegations of plotting against Philip Augustus, of manipulating events to his advantage, even of ordering the assassination of Conrad of Montferrat's friend, the Bishop of Beauvais. The story of the bishop's murder, meticulously documented by the Winchester monk Richard of Devizes, is particularly chilling. He paints Richard as a savage man, thoroughly unpleasant, a master of deceit and a truly skilled manipulator. He accuses Richard of orchestrating the Marquis's assassination and poisoning the Duke of Burgundy, portraying him as a ruthless, amoral figure. Richard's ambition, fueled by a desperate desire to secure his legacy, had created a climate of suspicion and paranoia. He was a man acutely aware of the potential dangers of his failure, of the political machinations that could unravel his kingdom. He anticipated the criticism, the accusations of greed and betrayal, and he sought to preemptively control the narrative. As the news of the peace agreement with Saladin finally reached the West, it arrived as confirmation of all the worst rumors. But the agreement itself was a desperate measure, a last-minute attempt to salvage something from the wreckage of the campaign. Richard, weakened by illness and financial ruin, signed the treaty on September 2nd, almost penniless. He had spent the entire war chest, borrowed heavily from Lombardy bankers, and even drained his sister Joanna's dowry, a drastic measure that highlighted the desperation of his situation. His pleas for more funds from the Abbot of Clairvaux went unanswered. The political landscape in England was precarious, dominated by power struggles between John and Longchamp. Richard had contingency plans in place, but they proved insufficient to safeguard his lands. The arrival of a personal envoy from Eleanor, reporting a new and imminent threat to his rule, added to his anxieties. And most critically, he was desperately ill, confined to his bed, his health rapidly deteriorating. The Hospitallers, renowned for their medical expertise, were treating him with leeches, herbs, and a desperate hope for a cure. They struggled with diseases exacerbated by the unsanitary conditions of the camp, a breeding ground for typhoid, dysentery, and malaria. The sheer number of unburied bodies in Jaffa, the constant presence of disease-carrying rats, created a toxic environment. Richard, weakened by his illness and despair, even begged for peaches and mountain snow, a testament to his dwindling strength and the severity of his suffering. The final days of the Crusade were marked by a frantic attempt to control the narrative. Richard canceled debts, ransomed prisoners, and desperately sought to repair his reputation. He knew that the stories of treachery and ambition would follow him home, and he sought to counter them with displays of generosity and a carefully crafted image of a benevolent ruler. But it was too late. His critics had already seized upon his perceived failures, and their stories were spreading like wildfire through Europe. As Richard prepared to embark on his final journey, he realized the full extent of his predicament. He was a vulnerable man, surrounded by enemies, facing a perilous voyage home. The departure from Acre was a carefully orchestrated spectacle, designed to project an image of strength and resilience. Richard, carried on a litter, made his way along the coast road, retracing the steps of his triumphant march. The agreement with Saladin was meant to ensure the safety of the pilgrims, but Richard insisted on strict controls, preventing uncontrolled departures and requiring all travelers to carry a royal letter. Saladin, recognizing Richard's strategic brilliance and his genuine respect for Islamic culture, made strenuous efforts to accommodate the pilgrims, inviting Hubert Walter, Richard's loyal English bishop, to a private meeting. The conversation was carefully documented, revealing a mutual respect and a shared understanding of Richard's character. Despite these efforts, Richard refused to travel to Jerusalem himself, determined to prevent a mass exodus of crusaders that would undermine his authority. He entrusted the task of overseeing the pilgrimage to Hubert Walter, a key figure in his future plans. The death of Hugh, Duke of Burgundy, a man Richard had come to detest, further fueled the rumors of treachery. The circumstances surrounding the Duke's demise were shrouded in suspicion, and Richard's name was inevitably linked to the tragedy. As Richard's ship set sail on September 29th, carrying Berengaria, Joanna, and Isaac Comnenus, he was leaving behind a kingdom teetering on the brink of chaos. He was embarking on a perilous journey home, a journey fraught with danger and uncertainty. The final scene unfolds in Haifa, a quiet retreat overlooking the Mediterranean. Richard, weakened by illness, heard the news of the Duke of Burgundy's death. A fleeting moment of cheer, quickly overshadowed by the realization that his reputation was irrevocably tarnished. On October 9th, Richard handed over command of the army to Henry of Champagne and began his own journey home, a journey that would ultimately lead to his captivity and death. He was leaving behind a shattered dream, a failed crusade, and a legacy forever tainted by suspicion and betrayal. And so the question remains, was Richard the Lionheart a hero or a masterful manipulator? Did his glorious crusade end in triumphant victory or a carefully constructed lie? And what if everything you thought you knew about the Third Crusade was a meticulously crafted deception, designed to bury a darker, far more unsettling truth?